Hello, this is Carolyn with Crafting with Wine, and I have been asked to do a larger than the mat or off the mat of the Cricut with an image that is actually phrases or text that would be bigger than a 12 by 12 mat, and then also would not fit on a 12 by 24 because of the width. Just in case no one knows, but your mats are always 12 by 12 with the newer machines, or they are 12 by 24, but the print area is 11.5 by 11.5 inches on the 12 by 12 mat, or on the 12 by 24 mat the cut area is 11.5 by 23.5. So you need to be aware that each side is a ½ inch smaller to cut than what the mat sizes are. So I just went in and did a search in Design Space for a phrase, and I chose this one that's about Christmas. Deck the halls, Merry Christmas, Snowman Joy, Jingle All the Way. You guys can read it. And what I'm going to do is scan over. First I'm going to select this. And you can see that I have it select because you see the box around it. Now let's scan over to my right side panel here, and I'm going to choose Edit. And you can see the box pop up for size. I'm not going to bother this lock button here. I want it to stay locked because I want everything to stay in proportion. But what I'm going to do is change the height, and I'm going to make the height 18 inches high. And you can see here it made the width 17.38 and the height 18 inches. Now if we pan back over to my mat screen, you can see that it's really big. It's really large. So the first thing that I'm going to do, so I can make this very visible for myself, is to go down here, and it's real faint. You can't hardly see it. You can't hardly see it on your own computer, but it's right here. There's a minus sign, a plus sign, and then it says 100%. And what we want to do is zoom out with the negative sign. And I'm going to zoom it right now to 50% is what I'm going to make it. That makes my text phrase now very visible. I can see all of it. And the first thing that I'm going to do is go over to Insert Image, and I am going to insert a square. And let me just show you that real quick. What I did was, and I'll do it again, is Insert Image. It's this section right here. I'm going to click on it, and it brings up this whole box of images that I can insert. I'm going to choose the square. Now you can see my square came in, and it's really small. But the first thing that I'm going to do with that square is go over here into my layers panel, is where I'm at the moment, or the layers tab. See if I can get the camera to cooperate here a little better. Sorry about poor camera operations. And I'm going to click on these little pair of scissors that's right here by my square. And when you do that, it brings up the attributes of this particular layer, which is my square. I can choose cut, right, score or print. I'm going to keep it at cut, but I can also go down here and choose my colors. And what I'm going to do is choose white so it's easy for me to see. So I made it white, and you can see here, over here on my panel or my matte screen, it made it white. It's selected there. It is white. Now we're going to go back over to our working layers panel here, and I'm just going to click anywhere on the screen. That'll get rid of that. And now I'm going to click edit, and you got to have your square, or what you're wanting to do, selected. So now I've selected that, and you can see here that we're now going to work with the size of the square. I have the square selected, and you can tell that I have the square selected because see there, the box is around my square. Now let's go back over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the lock button locked, which is right here, and I'm just going to highlight. It doesn't matter if you do width or height, it makes no difference because we're going to make a perfect square. And I'm going to make my square 11.5 inches, and that's 11.50. And then I'm going to go over and click on my square, and you can see here that it changed all of my dimensions to 11.5 square. So now we're going to pan back over to my square. Zoom out a little bit more, and what I'm doing now that I've got that done, the very next thing I'm going to do is go right back over here to my right hand panel, and I'm just going to click layers again, because layers is where I can make anything happen. Now here's my square. I'm going to put it off to the side right here for a second, and the next thing I'm going to do is just pick up my phrase and just move it over a little bit. Now I'm going to click on my square again. Now I'm going to come back over to my panel here on the right hand side, and let me try to tilt you guys down if I can. There we go. Zoom it in, and you see that duplicate button down there? Because I have my square selected and it's the size and the color that I want, I'm now just going to click duplicate 3 times, and what that does is that gave me 4 of my squares. My 11.5 inch squares is what I now have. So with those over there all stacked up the way that I need them to be, all stacked up that way, I'm just going to move one of them off, and I'm going to move it over here to my phrase. But while my square is now selected over here, I want to go up to the arrange button, and this is just my preference. You do not have to do this. I prefer to do it this way. And on my arrange button, I'm going to click for the drop down menu, and I'm going to select move to back. And when you saw that I did that, it moved my square behind my text phrase. Now, what I'm going to do at this point is line up my square back there to where I want to cut this. And right now, I'm going to set it to where it's not going to cut the Christmas text here at all. I don't want any of that cut at this point, because I want to make it easy to piece together. And right now I'm just checking to see how it's all going to fit. Okay, and I'm going to choose that position right there, because when I look at this, it's going to cut off. I'm going to slice in between the R and the I in this Merry Christmas. I'm going to slice the N in Santa Claus in a very good spot when you're doing cursive writing, it's going to make the end really in one piece. It's just the little part that you do up to make your end that's going to cut. And then a teeny little piece of my O in season is going to be cut off, but that's going to be very easy to piece together. So I don't have any problems with that. And then because 'twas the night before is smaller text size, I would prefer not to piece any of those letters together, and I don't, because right now I have it slicing right between the H and the T. Now you can see at this point I still have my square selected because it's highlighted with the box around it and all of these little icons on all four corners. Now, while I've got that selected, I'm going to hold down the control key on the keypad of of the keyboard of my laptop. I'm now pressing the control key. While I'm doing that, I'm going to select anywhere on my text. So I've done that. Now you see that I have a full outline around my square and my text phrase. Now, if you look over to my layers panel here, or my panel that's doing anything, or where I can do anything, you see slice. It is now highlighted just like weld, attach, flatten, and contour. So at this point, I can do anything with this. And what I'm going to do is choose slice. And you see that it grayed out there for a minute. Let me zoom you back out. And it has worked. And you can tell that it's worked because this text right now within my square looks very different than the rest of my text. So right now I'm just going to click on a portion of it. And I've clicked this white portion. And I know that that's a portion that I do not want because it's a different color than the rest of my text that I'm working with and want. So I'm just going to hit the little red X to delete that. Now I'm going to take this white square. You can see that it's been cut all the way through. All the letters have been cut out. Don't want that either, so I'm going to delete it. Now I'm going to hit up here on deck. See how that moves away from the rest of my text? That's great. Now I'm going to just move it out of the way because this is the portion that we want to keep. It's in the color that we wanted it to be in. So we know we want to keep that portion. So I'm just going to move it down here out of the way. Now I'm going to come in with one of my other squares and I'm going to just do the next portion up on top because I don't want to cut this Christmas part. Again, I don't want to cut those letters in half that way. I don't want to cut them vertical. I want to cut them horizontal if possible. And I can. So now I again have my white square selected. I'm going to now hold down my control key and select the other down here, anywhere that you choose your text. Now it's all selected again. I'm going to again go right back over to my slice button. As you can see, it is highlighted again and I'm going to hit slice. As it's working and now has finished, you can see at this point everything changed again. The look of this text changed again. So I'm going to just click on it, move that white portion out of the way, and again I'm going to delete it. I'm going to take my white square, move it out of the way, and delete it. Okay, and delete it. Now I got these letters and they're separate. I'm just going to move those down here out of the way as well. Okay, now we have this section to work on. and I'm going to bring over another one of my white squares. Now I want to decide where is going to be the most efficient place to make my slice, because you got to remember, you got to keep all of these letters, and we want to know where these letters is going to be best to slice through. And what I'm looking at is kind of everything at one time. And the way I have this set up to make this slice is that I'm going to get none of the R of Christmas, but I'm going to get all of the I and everything after. With the M, I made a strategic place with my square to do it right down the center of the M, so it will piece together very well and hide very well to where you should not be able to see that seam. I've got the last of the hoe, and the first two ho-hos aren't going to be sliced at all, and then I barely made the all of Jingle All the Way to where I don't have to make a slice in any of those letters. So my square is selected. I'm going to hold down my control key and go over here and click on my text, and I'm going to go here and hit slice. You can see that slice is working. Again, I'm going to pull the white portions out of the way. I'm going to delete the white portions. I'm going to take this square and delete it out of the way. Now I have this section separated. Now with this section, I don't need to do anything because I already know for a fact it's small enough to fit on any of my mats that I will be cutting on. So let me zoom out here just a minute. You know how we brought in those 4 squares? I only needed 3. So what I'm going to do is delete that one. Don't need it at all. Now I'm just going to move these out of the way, or in order here for a second. Move them up where they go, or where they should be. And now the next thing to do, and I won't be able to zoom in too tight on here for you to so you can see everything. Well, let me move everything over a little closer, so over to my working section, so we may be able, so we can zoom in tighter. Now, right here's what I'm going to do at this point. I'm going to hit the edit button. I'm going to choose this section. And when I'm looking at it, this section right now is 10.85 inches wide by 9.45 inches. This section is 6.28 by 9.45. This section down here is 6.19 by 7.94. This section here is 11.06 by 7.97. So all of these sections at this point will print on a 12 by 12 mat. And I tried to do everything 12 by 12 because that's the paper that we work in. Even if you do have a 12 by 24 mat, and I have several, I seldom use them because I do not at this point have any 12 by 24 cardstock. So if you don't have cardstock that big, then it makes no difference because it's going to slice in between the layers. Your cardstock has to be big enough for your mat. When I do the very large off the mat images, that I have several of those videos here on my channel, you can go check those out. I'll try to remember to link a couple of those. Some of those I do use my 12 by 24 mat, and I make my square actually a rectangle to be 11.5 by 23.5. only because I'm using poster board that I actually cut to 12 by 24 inches. And so I'm able to do that. If you're able or have paper that's 11 by 24, or maybe you're using vinyl, and obviously we can get a lot of vinyl in those sizes, then you can use the larger mats. But most of us that are using cardstock do not have cardstock that is 11 by 24 because it's very difficult sizes to find, and it's very expensive when you do find it. I do typically like to keep a pad of that here in my craft room, but I've been out for a while and haven't found it in a long time, or at least I haven't found it in prices that I want to pay. So now let me show you. This is going to print or cut, I'm sorry. This will cut for me now. Here, I'm going to pause you for a minute so I can move the camera without making everybody sick. Sorry about that. Now, we're going to hit the go button. Now, we're here on our go mat, or on our cut screen, our go cut screen. And you can see, if you look here at the side panel that's going to show you your mats, I have 4 mats. And I know that I'm going to have 4 mats. And I also know that they are 12 by 12 mats because I can see that, because it tells me that here on my panel. My mat size, 12 by 12. And so we can come out and we look at our cut screen. There's mat 1. It's all fitting on my 12 by 12. Mat 2, as you can see. Mat 3 and mat 4. And just so everybody knows, in case you don't, before you hit go when you're in your cut screen, you can hit on each individual mat and do whatever you want or able to do here. See, I can pick up this text, I can move it any way I want to move it, place it any place I want to on my mat. If I choose to, I can completely turn it around. If you go up at the top middle of anything that's about to cut, there's a little circle, and you got to look for it because it's very faint. If you click on it, look, you can turn it. You can manipulate it in any direction or any angle you choose. So you can do that too. So just wanted to throw that little piece in there as well. So that's how you do your images. So I hope this helps, and I really hope this helps the dear sweet lady that was having difficulties with this, and I hope I made my explanation clear enough for you to understand, because a lot of times my mouth and my brain don't work too well together. My brain's about 20 steps ahead of my mouth, so I can get confusing sometimes, and I apologize for that, and I hope that didn't happen just now. So thanks guys. Hope this was helpful and informative, and if it was, please give me a fun thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks. Cheers.